Steve Jobs once said, "The group of people that do not use quality in their marketing are the Japanese." You never see them using quality in their marketing. It's only the American companies that do. And yet, if you ask people on the street which products have the best reputation for quality, they will tell you the Japanese products. But back in the 1950s, the label "Made in Japan" didn't mean high-tech luxury. It meant cheap, flimsy, and disposable. If you bought something Japanese, you expected it to break. Within a single generation, that exact same country completely flipped the global script. They built the most reliable cars, the most advanced electronics, and revolutionized manufacturing forever. Fast forward to 1980. Japan is an untouchable industrial powerhouse, and American corporate executives are panicking. Desperate to understand what happened, NBC News airs a watershed documentary titled, "If Japan Can, Why Can't We?" That broadcast introduced the West to the most prestigious corporate quality award in the world, the Deming Prize. And here is the ultimate historical plot twist. The man whose name was on the trophy wasn't Japanese, Russian, or British. He was an American, a prophet completely ignored in his own country, whose name became the gold standard abroad. To understand how that happened, you have to look at the man behind it. Dr. W. Edwards Deming. Deming was an American statistician and engineer. During World War II, he tried to teach U.S. factories how to use statistical methods to improve production quality. But American companies weren't interested. Factories were booming. They could sell literally anything they made, and they told Deming to step aside. American corporate leaders blamed lazy workers for defects, assuming a certain amount of failure was just the cost of doing business. Deming was virtually a ghost in his home country. Then came post-war Japan. In 1950, Japan was physically destroyed, its economy shattered, and its global reputation for manufacturing was in the gutter. They had no natural resources, and they desperately needed to export goods just to buy food and survive. But nobody wanted their junk. History often turns on a simple truth. When the student is ready, the master appears. American industry wasn't ready to listen to Deming. They were too arrogant and comfortable. But Japan was hungry, humble, and ready for a complete fresh start. The Japanese Union of Scientists and Engineers invited Deming to Tokyo. He sat down with hundreds of corporate leaders and engineers. His message was radical. Stop focusing just on the final inspection. Fix the entire process. And above all, understand that 85% of quality and productivity problems are caused by faulty management systems, not the workers. Unlike Americans, Japanese leadership listened. But Deming didn't build the Japanese economic miracle by himself. He lit the match. The real magic happened because Japanese leaders were world-class students. They didn't just clap at a seminar and go back to business as usual. They took absolute accountability, and they tested every single theory right down on the sweaty, operational factory floor. Brilliant local engineers and minds like Kaoru Ishikawa and Taiichi Ono took Deming's statistical math and translated it into everyday tools for ordinary workers. They birthed quality circles, trained frontline staff to read control charts, and instituted a radical new rule. Any worker had the power to stop the entire assembly line the second they spotted a flaw. Deming's lectures in 1950 weren't just academic philosophy. They were a mathematical manual for survival. Right out of the gate, pioneering heavy industry and chemical companies like Fuji Iron and Steel, Yawata Iron and Steel, and Fuji Photofilm took Deming's statistical control charts and applied them immediately. The results weren't a slight tweak. They were a seismic shock. Within months, their defect rates plummeted. They stopped wasting expensive, scarce raw materials, eliminated costly rework, and watched their production costs drop through the floor. The math proved it instantly. Doing it right the first time was cheaper than fixing it later. To honor these early successes and push the entire nation forward, Juice established the Deming Prize in 1951, funded by the royalties from Deming's own lecture notes. At first, winning it was a quiet, technical milestone. But, as the 1960s rolled around, a massive corporate domino effect took over. When giants like NEC and Toshiba won it, other boardrooms took notice. Then, the automotive sector jumped into the ring. Nissan won it in 1960. Komatsu won it. And in 1965, 14 grueling years after the prize was born, Toyota claimed the award. By the 1970s, the initial spark had turned into a full-blown national wildfire. Winning the Deming Prize was no longer just an award. It was the ultimate corporate status symbol. Every manufacturer realized that if they wanted to survive, they had to step into the arena, submit to brutal multi-year audits, and prove their processes were flawless. The students had not only learned the lesson, they were rewriting the rules of global manufacturing. When that NBC documentary finally aired in 1980, America woke up with a massive hangover. Desperate U.S. companies rushed to hire an 80-year-old Deming to save corporate giants like Ford, realizing too late that the student had long since surpassed the master. The Deming Prize stands today as a monument to a powerful truth. Excellence isn't luck, and a great philosophy is useless unless you have the discipline to execute it on the floor.